Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining the Puget Sound Energy Business Lighting Incentives Business Lighting Incentives for Your Business presentation. We're really excited to have two subject matter experts on business lighting here to present information to help you with your business and also to discuss some case studies. So go ahead and go to the next slide and I can talk a bit about our agenda for today. Great, so we'll be starting out with talking about, well, who we are. Well, my name is Heather Pierce. I'm with Outreach. I live in the Browns Point area of Tacoma. We all actually live in the service areas that we operate in, and we will all talk about where we're from as well. So I just wanted to let you know that we're a part of Puget Sound Energy. We live in the communities we serve, and we're really proud to be a part of that tradition. As far as additional traditions are concerned, I'll share with you a safety moment. That's something that we always do at Puget Sound Energy with 3 or more people are attending a meeting. And then we'll go into our actual business lighting presentation. Then we'll talk about case studies that we have in relationship to the commercial business lighting services that we have. And then we'll actually go into a Q&A chat. But don't move too quickly after the end of the presentation, because we do want to be able to give away 3 $20 gift cards. So my colleague Scott will go into more detail about that at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, we'll go ahead to the next slide and I will share our presentation's safety moment. So as a part of the energy that we offer, we do have natural gas, and something we always want to make sure people know of is if there is any time that you smell a rotten egg smell in the house, get out as soon as possible. Don't make any phone calls or do anything while you're in the house. Just leave and then call 911. We just want to make sure that everybody is safe, and something could spark right away. So the best thing to do is just to evacuate as soon as possible. All right, next slide, please. All right, so I want to introduce our 2 main speakers today, Michael Lane and Andrew Polcharak. And Michael Lane joined Puget Sound Energy in 2011 and is the Energy Management Engineering Supervisor and Program Manager for the PSE Business Lighting Incentive Program, part of Business Energy Management Division. Before joining PSE, Michael worked at the Lighting Design Lab as project manager and has worked at lighting design firms in New York, Boston, and Seattle. He has a Bachelor of Architecture from Washington State University and has specialized in the lighting field for over 35 years. He serves on the OSHRAE's 90.1 committee since summer of 2000. And Michael has served as a lighting author on 9 OSHRAE Advanced Energy Design Guide project committees, including 2 Zero Energy Guides. In 2004 and 2010, Michael received the IES Presidential Award, and in 2004, received the IES Section Merit Service Award. In his spare time, Michael is a USATF track and field official. Andrew Polcharak is a senior project manager with Puget Sound Energy, working within the Energy Efficiency Services Group. Andrew has over 30 years of experience in the lighting industry, and throughout his career, he has designed interior and exterior lighting in both national and international settings, as well as developed and taught classes on energy efficiency, lighting design principles, energy codes, federal legislation, and the future technologies in lighting. He holds his certification from NCQLP and is a member of the IES. He has served for over 15 years as a board member of the IES Seattle Puget Sound section in a variety of roles, from president to Illumination Awards chair and programs chair. Nationally, Andrew has served as a member of the IES National Progress Committee and is currently serving on the board of directors for the Electric League of the Pacific Northwest, as well as member of the Washington State Energy Code TAG Committee. So as you can see, we have some real experts in the room tonight to help you make it easier to light your business with the most efficient lighting we have available today. So we'll go ahead without further ado and move the next slide, please.
Thanks, Heather. Appreciate that. Well, good evening, everybody. Glad that you guys could be with us today. Let's talking about the business lighting program specifically. PSE offers under their program any commercial business if you're doing a retrofit job. And even though that photo shows a large downtown business, we do offer incentives for even smaller business. So if you're a small business owner, you have a cafe or restaurant or bookstore or clothing store, maybe you have a veterinary clinic, any type of business that is within the PSE territory that is an electric customer of ours could qualify for these incentives that we're going to be talking about today. And that goes not just for the inside of your business, but also for the exterior as well. So think about things like your parking lots, maybe a back entrance for employees where it could be a fixture above the doorway, things like that. We also offer the incentives for that as well. As long as you're saving energy, there's a high likelihood that we're able to help you with the cost of getting those products installed. Next slide, please. So the place where you want to find all the information that we're talking about today, the easiest place is at pse.com/business lighting. That's going to be the most helpful piece of information today if you don't remember or write down the things we're talking about. And right now, we are offering through the end of the year an increase of 50% of what our typical incentives are. So if you offer if you are installing a component, then it is 19 cents per kWh saved in that first year. And a component to us would be something like a lamp. Maybe it's a bollard that is sitting outside of your office space. It's along a walkway. And you want to screw in and unscrew the HID and screw in an LED that's going to save some energy or change that out. That would be what we would call a component. Then if you have any fixtures or kits, say it's an office space, like in the picture that you see here, and it's a ceiling, a drop-down ceiling, then we would offer 27 cents per kWh if you are replacing a fixture or a replacement kit. If you take it to the next level, and as you can see, these incentives increase for the more energy that you would save, but also for the type of product that you're putting in. So there's another level that we would consider at 34 cents per kWh, that if you're not just replacing the fixture, but you are also replacing controls or installing new controls. So for instance, if you have a fixture and I'm going to show these in just a minute, if you have a fixture and they have an aux sensor that's up in the ceiling, or if you have another type of sensor that would sense the amount of daylight, you could get a higher incentive at the 34 cents. The next item that says $35 an additional bonus, it's for an LLC fixture. And LLC stands for Luminaire Level Lighting Control. And I'm going to show you some pictures of that to help you understand that better. But on top of what you're going to receive for the incentives of the 34 cents, you would also get an additional $75 for each and every fixture. We're doing that especially to help those business owners not just save more energy, but to help with the cost, because those fixtures do tend to cost just a little bit more money. So we want to help you to be able to put that money back in your pocket, because it does cost a little bit more money and there's a little bit of program to be involved. So you may need to do that yourself or have a contractor do that. And we realize that there's a cost involved to do that. The next item are TLEDs. TLED stands for tubular LEDs, okay? Light emitting diodes. So instead of the standard fluorescent that you might see that's in your space now, that's a 4-foot tube that's about a ½ inch round, or could be a 1 inch round. These TLEDs look exactly the same, except there are LEDs inside of them. So they're just called tubular LEDs, and we abbreviate it as TLEDs. There are 3 different types, and we can get into specifics later. If you have questions about those different types, we can share those with you. But we are offering $4 for each and every T-LED. So if you have a light fixture in the ceiling, maybe it's a small shop that you have, and it's a 2x4 fixture, and you look up inside there, and there are these tubular lamps that are up inside there. If you replace those and they are currently fluorescent, then we would pay you $4 for each one. So in an example of a 3 lamp fixture with 3 light bulbs in it, we would be giving you $12 to have those installed. Okay, the next slide. What I did want to mention actually from that last slide that I failed to mention was that these incentives are good through the end of the year, but we do ask that those projects are completed by December 10th of next year. So that's really your only stipulation. So let's look at some specifics of what that LLLC is. Again, it's the luminaire level lighting control. So it's a fixture that has 2 controls embedded inside of each and every fixture. And I will show you the picture coming up pretty soon. And actually some picture that we installed in our PSE office up in the Bothell area just a few years back. So each and every fixture has to have 2 controls. One of them is an occupancy sensor, and the other one is a daylight sensor. And when those fixtures are installed, we don't just give you the incentive for having those put in, but that's where you'll get the additional bonus. Now, there are some stipulations around getting that additional bonus because it does have daylight sensors. Of course, you're going to need to have some daylight coming into that space. So think of a warehouse. If there are skylights, then we would be able to offer that to you. If there are an office space where you have a wall of windows, then those fixtures could receive that extra $75 bonus. So we're finding that customers are not just saving a lot of money with these types of fixtures, but they're also getting a lot of money back through that. Next slide, please. So here is an example of an LLC fixture control system that's in place. This is our Bothell office, and it probably looks, except for the lights being on, that's probably exactly how it looks for the last 8 months. No one's there. But let me show you what happens, because when we go back to work, these fixtures will be back in regular operation mode. So what happens on a daily basis when we were there full time before COVID? This is a virtual hallway coming down that center line with that red dot is up in the ceiling. And that really highlights what the sensor looks like. So it's pretty small, and it's the 2 sensors are side by side there. So one of them, again, is that daylight sensor, and the other one is the occupancy sensor. So when everybody is working in the office and there's movement and there's things happening, then just as in this picture, you will see that all the lights are on. But what happens when people start to leave, then rows of fixtures, and we have 3 per row, they tend to go out because as people leave that space, then fixtures will turn off because there's no occupancy. And the lights along that window wall, it may be difficult from this picture to see, but they do dim down and they adjust to the daylight coming in, so we're saving some energy there as well. Let's go to the next slide. So here is a photo that helps really show you the system when it's in action. So that squared off area, the rectangular area in red, is showing you that lights are off. That means that if you walk down that row, you wouldn't see any people in that row. But as soon as someone does start to walk at the beginning of that row, then those lights would turn back on. And also too, this hallway to the left, let's call it a virtual hallway there, those lights will turn off after 5 minutes as well. So if there was only 2 or 3 people in that whole office space, which probably is about 4,000 to 5,000 square feet, then there'll only be a few lights on rather than having 40 or 50 lights on, which is on half of that floor space. So we are, again, seeing a huge amount of savings coming from these fixtures and we want to help get these into the marketplace. So that's why we're offering that bonus. Let's go to the next slide, please. So here's where you would find an application. It is an Excel spreadsheet. So click on the application button. To get there, again, it's a easy place to find. It's pse.com/business lighting. The other link, and I'm going to show that to you in just a minute, next to it is the quick reference guide. And that is something that you can print off and leave at your desk as a reference to everything that we offer in the program. It's a 2-page document, again, as a PDF. Let's take a look at that now. Next slide. So this is the first page of that 2-page document. Again, we call it the quick reference guide. And it's laid out where you can see what the business lighting program is about. It talks about the incentive that we're offering right now. Pay attention to that the application has to be in by December 31st. And again, we ask that all the projects that you submit between now and December 31st have to be completed by December 10th of next year in order to qualify for that higher incentive. The other area that's mentioned here is how to apply, because there are some things you'd have to send in with your application. Some simple things, wouldn't take too much work. Things such as a cut sheet or specification sheet of your lighting. If you're not familiar with what that is, just call us and we can help you with that. Or email us, and we have email and contact information at the end of this presentation. Or you can ask your contractor if you're not doing a self-install for that. We also look for other things like a W-9. That's simply for where do we send the check that you're going to be getting from us. So we ask for some simple things. We ask for the application to be signed, and there's an email address where you send it to, and we'll share that with you as well. The second page that I don't have within this presentation just shows some requirements for invoicing when the project is done, things like that. But again, if there's any questions, we have information that we can do one-on-one to show you how to work through this application process if you're interested. So I'm going to, from this point, have Michael take over and go through some very specifics of what the application looks like and some important areas to pay attention to as you apply. Michael?
Thanks, Andrew. As we go to the next slide, I live in Redmond, so yes, I am, like Heather said, one of a PSE customer, also both electric and gas, and also, of course, an employee. I'm also, along with being the supervisor for the business lighting program, I'm the author of this application that I'm going to show you, I think, about 3 or 4 slides of. Not going to go into super detail on them. It's much more something that it works out to be an interactive experience, and we can always work with you to help fill it out. Best thing to do is if you're going to ask us questions about a specific on the application you're filling it out, if you send it to the email address of businesslighting@pse.com, and business lighting is all one word, then we can be looking at what you're looking at. So this is one of the pages on the application, and you can kind of see 3 boxes there. The farthest one on the left, that's the project information. So that's, you know, the rate schedule. And if you don't know what your rate schedule is, you can always look on your PSE bill. That's the easiest way to find it. It also has what type of building type. Again, you can ask us the question of what's the correct building type, but of course, retail, your retail, or office, your office, those kinds of things. The center box in the middle there is the project location. So here what we're asking for is what's the project name? So what's your business name? Where are you located? What's your address? What's your account number? We need, there's 2 pieces of information on this page that we must have. We'll need all of those yellow boxes filled out. But it will actually not calculate what the incentive will be if you don't put in a rate schedule and or don't put in your business account number. We can't put it into our internal system. So if you send it into us without the account number, we'll be asking you what that is. On the very far right-hand box of the three that are highlighted there is the company, because often the company goes by a different name than the business name, or it's a subsidiary. Who's the contact for the business, their email address, phone number, that kind of information. There's an arrow at the bottom with a 4 next to it, and that's pointing to that there's more information on the page, which is, who's your contractor? Often these are filled out by electrical contractors. So if you've never filled one out and you're planning on working with an electrical contractor, talk to them. See if they've ever filled these out before. Often they have, and they'll be very familiar with it. So they can fill their section out, so we'll know who the contractor is on the project. If we go ahead to the next slide, we'll see what we fondly call the installations tab. This is where you're putting in all of the information of what your lighting system is currently and what you're planning on putting in. And that reminds me of something to point out. Very important that we need you to submit this workbook, this application, prior to doing any work, because we may need to actually come out and do a site visit depending on the size of it. The larger projects will need to come out and actually do a site visit. And we'll need to see what was there. If we don't come out, we're going to ask you to do some photographs, digital photographs, so that we can identify the lighting that's in the space. Again, just gives us the baseline of what was in your facility prior to the change out. So you come onto this page, and the bottom left, just above the PSE logo, there's a yellow box with a 1 in it. You'll notice that the ones above it are all white. When you fill in that first yellow box, all of the boxes to the right of that will turn yellow, so that you know, oh, I've got to fill in all of these yellow cells. And there's things like what type of heat is it? Do you use gas heat? Do you have electric heat? What is the space type? Maybe it's a restaurant and it's dining. Maybe it's an office space and it's the conference room. And then how many hours per year are the lights typically on in that space? And if your business is, let's say, again, retail, and it's open from 10 a.m. till 9 p.m., we know that you don't turn the lights on right at 10 a.m. You've probably come there a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour before. Maybe you needed to finish some restocking, whatever it is. And so it's not specifically the hours of operation. We typically allow 1 hour maybe before and 1 hour after your open and closing time. We want to know it as close as possible to be accurate, because the incentive is all based on, that's one of the components of what your incentive will be, is how long your lights are on. Moving over to the right, there's a circle with a 2 in it. This is where you select the quantity of light fixtures and the existing light fixture and the proposed light fixture, and also an estimated cost of that light fixture. Further on to the right, there's a 3, and that's where the controls, often the existing control is just a switch or a breaker. And then the proposed, what are you putting in? We're very much on, so our incentives are based on the kilowatt hours saved. So we're also giving an incentive on the kilowatt hours saved for the controls. And currently our incentives, we're in a limited time offer through the end of the year, getting your project submitted by the end of the year. You still have till December 1st, 2021 to get it all installed and get us the paperwork. But one of the things that we're offering is, so for a fixture right now, it's 27 cents per kilowatt hour saved. But if you put, let's say, an occupancy sensor on that, and there was a switch before, we're going to bump that up to 34 cents per kilowatt hour save. Very far right-hand side, there's a 4 with a circle in it. That's a place where there's some customers, contractors who want to see everything that's on the job site, but maybe there's something specifically that you want to exclude, but you still want to see it on this application. It's a yes, no checkbox, and you can basically turn that what we call a measure of that line off. Everything will still be there, except it won't include or calculate the savings or the costs. Then up above, there's a number 5, kind of on the upper left. And that's where you put in your labor cost, your miscellaneous costs, and your tax rate. Kind of in the center, you'll see a bigger green box with a 6 next to it. This is where it's calculating your estimated incentive. So you can, right away see what is see what your incentive is going to be. So we'll move now to the next slide. And this is what we call the signature page, really important. This does a couple of things. Who's going to get paid, the incentive. So a couple of things on that of who gets paid the incentive. First of all, you as the customer can be the payee, the owner of the building. If you're the leaseor of the building, can be the payee of that. You can also have the contractor be the payee, and many of the contractors will do that, and they will then take that cost basically off the cost that you have to pay. So it still equals out, but instead of you paying, let's say, $10,000 and getting a $5,000 incentive check from us, you would just pay the contractor $5,000 and we would pay the contractor $5,000. So it all equals out in the same amount. But it'll also tell you some good information of like what your payback is going to be. How quickly will this pay for itself before the incentive and after the incentive? That's like right there in the middle where the number 1 is. Down below on the left-hand side, there's 3 check boxes of, do you want to have direct payment? We can actually deduct it from your utility bill if you're the customer. You can do an electronic deposit, or we can send you a check. In the middle, kind of towards the bottom, there's a number 3, and this is where you actually do put in who the payee is going to be, their name, who the check is payable to. We do need a tax ID. We'll actually ask you for whoever the payee is, a W-9, and that will then kind of go into our system, and then we shred it, so we don't keep that information on a paper copy anywhere. Again, who the payee is, who the email is. You'll kind of notice a number 4 kind of off by itself. Well, Andrew was mentioning the luminaire level lighting control, LLC, and it's a hidden series of boxes. And so if you don't have an LLC, those boxes are hidden. If there is, it'll open up and you'll basically ask you who the payee is. So now I said this was a signature page. So down below, not on the screen, is a place for the customer signature. And we do need a customer signature on this page. And what we recommend is that it is either printed as a piece of paper and the customer physically signs it, and then it is scanned and sent back to us with the application. Or you can print it to a PDF and electronically sign it as a PDF. And again, it comes back to us when you send the application in. And again, if it's not all perfect, we'll send you an email and we'll ask for that additional information. So next slide. So as I said a few minutes ago, this is a limited time offer on these 2020 incentives. You get your project submitted before the end of the year. It will get these higher incentives of 27 cents for a fixture, 19 cents for what we call a component, $4 for every tubular LED TLEDs. Those are lamps that will replace existing T8 lamps on a one-for-one basis, or 34 cents if you're doing the combination of a fixture and an automatic control. And you also get that 34 cents if you do a luminaire level, plus that $75 bonus. So what's going to happen in 2021? We're still working on that. This limited time offer of increased incentives will end on January 1st. We will have something super exciting, great coming out for 2021. If you can't get it all in before 2021, you will not miss out. We're going to have some incentives that could be close to comparable. We're still working out the details on that program for 2021. Next slide, please. And again, don't forget to go to pse.com/businesslighting, where you can find that link, as Andrew showed you, to the application, that blue button that's right there. And also the quick link. And below this, if you're on the website, it'll give you all the information about the program as it exists today. As we get towards the middle of December, we will be announcing the new program for 2021, and all that information will get transferred up to the website. So you'll be able to see it there. You'll be able to download the 2021 application. There's also some other good links. One thing to point out is, if you're an apartment building, there's a multifamily program. Currently, it's exactly the same application that we use, except that it's been branded for multifamily instead of business lighting. But there's a link at the bottom where you can go to the multifamily page and then download the multifamily application. So again, go there, find out all that good information about what the program is doing. Next slide. So here's our contact information. General questions, businesslighting@pse.com. There's 3 or 4 of us who monitor that email address. That's also where you would send your workbook and the application. We used to talk about it, Excel calls them workbooks, but we're trying to call them applications. So that's why every once in a while I stumble. It's where you would send your application. It would be where you would send the W-9 for that application. We're also going to be wanting, of course, some pictures, but you don't have to send those initially. Your project will get assigned to a PSE representative, and they will be contacting you of what else they need. But again, take those photographs, have them ready. That will expedite the project. The cut sheets, the specification sheets of the new equipment that you're planning on putting in. Again, download the application of the quick reference guide at pse.com/businesslighting. And there's my email address, michael.lane@pse.com, and Andrew's email, andrewpoltoric@pse.com. So reach out to us any one of those 3 ways, plus go to our business lighting website. And I think if we go to the next slide, I'm going to transition over to Scott Harder now to talk about some of the case studies of projects that have come through the program. Hello, Scott.
No, I'm joking. I'm not on mute. Thanks, everyone. So that was a lot of information. That was a lot of forms, a lot of fields. What does that equate to, right? I mean, some of you on the other end here might be like, I have a small business, right? Or I have a large business. That's a lot of work, and you might not have a facility person that can fill this out, or your contractor can usually do this with you, but is it actually worth all the effort? It is, absolutely. So we pulled up a couple of case studies. We're going to travel way north up to Bellingham, Washington. We've got 2 different businesses I'm going to talk about real quick that kind of show like the real world, what it looks like. They had to fill out that application as well, and they were rewarded. So if we go to the next slide. we're talking about Northwest Chevrolet of Bellingham. So this is a larger customer, and they did a complete revamp of their entire building, which is a lot. So they have their shop, they've got wall pack lights on the outside, they've got their showroom, but you know, they approached us and they wanted to know what we could do for them. So they upgraded a lot of their different lighting. There's some quotes on here from Xavier, who approached one of our energy management engineers up north. And this is just one of those perfect projects, right? So there was so much opportunity for us to save them money. If we go to the next slide. So yeah, it included a full lighting retrofit of the exterior lighting, interior lighting, and they already figured they're going to recoup their project costs in 3 years. But if you look at it, so annually their kilowatt savings is going to be over 220,000 kilowatt hours. Now, I don't know how many of you know about kilowatt hours, but when it comes down to actual money, it's $21,000. Now, I'm going to say 22,000. I'll round up, but PSE actually paid for 53% of that project cost. So, and I think I can get away with saying this here, that with these increased incentives this year, it's possible there'd be more covered. It really depends on your project, though. So I'm not getting a stink eye from any of these guys. So I think I'm okay there. So there's one example, right? If we go to the next slide, I think we're going to talk real quick about what a lot of the different businesses attending today might be, which is the small businesses, right? So you've got your neighborhood Ace Hardware, right? And these are all just franchise, right? And owned by just by folks in the community, right? And Steve and Amy wanted to switch out from, they had the old school fluorescents. It was actually quite a bit, even though it's a smaller store. They still had quite a footprint. They had to light up a lot of stuff inside the store. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that we start talking about payback, annual savings, such like the big number is down at the bottom. 70% of their project cost was covered. And once again, they're saving, you know, I'm not going to round down. I'll say $3,200 in annual energy cost savings and 33,000 annual kilowatt savings. So, you know, doing this for the money is one thing, but you also got to remember the carbon reduction, the footprint that they're taking off the grid, even just between these two businesses, right? It's over 250,000 kilowatt hours annually, which is pretty awesome. So there is a lot to go through on some of these applications, but these guys and everybody that works at PSE is always available to help you walk through the application and make it as easy as possible. So if you ever have to hesitate and just think like, oh, I don't know if I want to go through all this, go ahead, ping us. Let us try and give us a chance. And I think we can definitely help you out by saving some money and lower your operating costs, which I think everybody at this time really wants to do, so that you can spend your operating cost money on other things, especially for pandemic type stuff. For the next slide, I think, the closing comments. So that was real quick there. Hopefully it wasn't too quick, but before we go, as Heather mentioned at the beginning, if you come to our virtual booth, I'm going to say between now, or wait till we're done with the Q&A, but after 6 o'clock up until 6:15, all you have to do is drop your business card off, and we have 3 $20 gift cards to Starbucks that we'll use randomize.com or randomizer.com and pick out 3. We'll send you an email, and we're emailing those out tomorrow. But we've got lots of great collateral on our virtual booth. You can go there, download PDFs that have more case studies. We have some really cool videos out there that feature some pretty fun businesses, and a lot of businesses that are probably very similar to yours. So if there's we are going to send out a follow-up email in the coming days. That'll, if you dropped your business card off, we'll send more information your way, try and make a connection, see what we can do with you. If you have any questions for, since I'm in outreach and so is Heather, you can use the community outreach email there. And once again, as Michael and Andrew both said, pse.com/business lighting is the easiest place to go. You can access that. If you can't remember business lighting at pse.com, that's on that webpage as well. You know, this is near the end of today's seminars. I know the gala is at 6 o'clock, so thank you for sticking through. I think we're going to get to some Q&A next if we've got some.
We don't have any questions right now, but remember that if you do, either visit the booth at 6 o'clock for that drawing, and we can help you answer questions then, or contact us directly. Both Michael's email and my email were there, as well as you can always send an email if you'd like to businesslighting@pse.com. So thanks very much, everybody, for attending. We really appreciate you being part of Business Fair today, and excited to see you in a few minutes over at the booth in just less than a half hour, and win some great coffee. Thank you all.
Thank you.